Not all who wander are lost. J.R.R. Tolkien. Have you ever felt like you're navigating life on your own terms, charting a course that others can't quite grasp? Welcome to the world of the Sigma female, where the path is uniquely yours, and the experiences are nothing short of extraordinary. From an unshakable sense of conviction to the eerie sensation of always being watched, Sigma females encounter phenomena that set them apart. Today we're diving into 5 strange, fascinating experiences every Sigma female knows all too well. So, are you ready to explore what makes your journey so distinct and powerful? Number 1. People staring at them, the unsettling gaze. Sigma females often experience the odd phenomenon of being human magnets. People can't help but stare at them. It's not just about looks, it's their whole vibe. They walk into a room and heads turn. They can feel the weight of all those eyes trying to figure them out. It's like they've got a giant neon sign above their heads flashing, "Intriguing person here." The staring isn't always flattering. Sure, sometimes it's admiration or curiosity, but often it's a mix of confusion and envy. People can't quite pin them down, and that drives them nuts. Sigma females don't follow the usual social scripts, and that unpredictability makes them fascinating. They're the human equivalent of a plot twist. People can't help but try to decode them. This constant scrutiny can be a real double-edged sword. On one hand, it's empowering to know that your presence is felt so strongly. On the other hand, it can feel invasive. Sigma females are private by nature, so having all eyes on them can be unnerving. It's like being in a zoo exhibit with everyone pressing their faces against the glass, trying to get a closer look. They develop a sixth sense for when they're being watched. They can feel those eyes boring into the back of their heads even when they're not looking. It becomes a game. Spot the starer. They get used to it, but it never stops being weird. Sometimes they just want to blend into the background, but their natural aura won't let them. Humor becomes a coping mechanism. They joke about needing sunglasses indoors to block the constant stares, or about charging a fee for every minute someone spends gawking. They laugh it off because, well, what else can you do? Embracing the absurdity of it all helps them stay sane. Despite the awkwardness, Sigma females know that this magnetic pull is part of their charm. It's not something they can turn off, so they learn to roll with it. They understand that being noticed isn't the same as being understood, but they take it in stride. After all, if people are going to stare, they might as well give them something to look at. Number 2. Solipsism. Sigma females often find themselves navigating a unique mental landscape that can feel like living in a personal reality distortion field. It's as if they're the main characters in a movie where everyone else is just an extra. This sensation isn't about being self-centered, it's more about the intense focus on their inner world. They perceive life through a lens that magnifies their thoughts and experiences, making everything else seem secondary or even illusory. It's like they have their own personal Truman Show, minus the hidden cameras, or at least they hope. This solipsistic mindset can be both a superpower and a kryptonite. On one hand, it grants them a laser-like focus on their goals and a deep connection to their inner values. They don't get easily swayed by the noise of the outside world, which makes them fiercely independent and resilient. They can walk into a room and command attention, not because they seek it, but because they genuinely don't care if anyone is paying attention at all. Their confidence is rooted in their self-sufficiency. However, this same mindset can make connecting with others challenging. They might struggle to fully engage with someone else's perspective, not out of arrogance, but because their own thoughts are so vivid and all-consuming. It's like trying to watch a movie while someone is constantly narrating their own unrelated story in your ear. They can appreciate others' viewpoints intellectually, but emotionally, their own narrative always takes center stage. This can lead to a sense of isolation, as they might find it hard to believe that anyone else can truly understand their unique experience. They often feel like they're speaking a different language, one that others nod along to but rarely comprehend. Their solipsism is a double-edged sword. It shields them from external pressures, but also keeps them at a distance from genuine human connection. Despite the challenges, Sigma females learn to navigate this solipsistic landscape with a lot of resilience. They become masters of their own universe, embracing the quirks and oddities that come with seeing the world through their own unique lens. They might joke about living in their own heads or being the star of their own show, but deep down, they cherish the independence and strength that this mindset affords them. After all, in a world full of fleeting trends and superficial interactions, there's something profoundly empowering about being your own most important audience. Number 3, an overwhelming conviction, unshakable conviction, a blessing and a curse. Sigma females live with an overwhelming sense of conviction that can feel like having an internal GPS set permanently to unwavering. They know what they believe, and they know what they want, often with a clarity that's both inspiring and a little bit intimidating. It's as if they were born with a manual that nobody else got, filled with instructions on how to navigate life according to their own rules. This conviction isn't about being stubborn for the sake of it. It's more about a deep-rooted certainty in their own values and decisions. They don't flip-flop or second-guess themselves because their internal compass is always pointing true north. While others might spend ages debating which path to take, a Sigma female is already halfway down the road she's chosen, confidently striding along. Of course, this can make them seem inflexible or even a bit arrogant. It's not that they're closed off to new ideas, but they're selective about which ones they let in. They've done the homework, they've weighed the options, and they've made their choice. Changing their mind isn't impossible, but it requires a level of persuasion that most people simply don't have the energy for. Their conviction can be a blessing in disguise. It means they're rarely lost in the sea of societal expectations. While others are busy trying to fit in or make everyone else happy, Sigma females are perfectly content walking their own path, even if it's the road less traveled. They trust themselves implicitly, which makes them resilient in the face of criticism and doubt. But having such strong convictions can also be a bit isolating. They often find themselves at odds with the status quo, and standing firm can feel lonely. It's like being the only one in a room who knows the punchline to a joke everyone else missed. They might struggle to find like-minded people who get where they're coming from, leading to a sense of being perpetually out of sync with the crowd. Despite this, Sigma females wouldn't have it any other way. Their conviction is their superpower, giving them the confidence to take risks and make bold moves. They laugh at the idea of following the herd, knowing that their unique perspective is what sets them apart. They've embraced their role as the maverick, the trailblazer, the one who dares to stick to her guns no matter what. And in a world that often values conformity over individuality, that's pretty extraordinary. If you're enjoying this exploration of the fascinating world of Sigma females, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on more unique insights and intriguing content. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of like-minded individuals who appreciate the extraordinary. Number 4, picking up on trends before the masses. Trendsetters in solitude, the Lonely Visionaries. Sigma females have this uncanny knack for picking up on trends before anyone else even has a clue. It's like they have a built-in radar for what's going to be hot next. While everyone else is still raving about last year's big thing, they've already moved on to the next big thing. They're the early adopters, the ones who are always a step ahead. But this isn't just about being trendy for the sake of it. It's more like they're tuned into some cosmic frequency that others can't hear. They spot patterns and make connections in ways that leave others scratching their heads. They're not following the crowd, they're leading it, even if no one realizes it yet. This talent can be both exhilarating and frustrating. On the one hand, it's pretty cool to be the one who always knows what's coming next. It's like having a superpower that sets them apart. But on the other hand, it can feel a bit lonely. They often find themselves championing ideas or styles that others don't get until much later. By the time everyone else catches on, they're already bored and looking for the next new thing. There's also the constant battle against being dismissed as eccentric or out of touch. When you're always ahead of the curve, people can be slow to catch up. They might look at a Sigma female's latest passion and think she's lost her mind, only to turn around a few months later and see everyone else doing the exact same thing. It's like being the only person in a room who gets the punchline to a joke that hasn't been told yet. Sigma females often have to laugh at the absurdity of it all. They know they're right, even when no one else sees it. They joke about being psychic or having a time machine tucked away somewhere. They take the eye rolls and skeptical looks in stride because they've seen it all before. The pattern is always the same. First they're doubted, then they're copied, and finally they're forgotten as the originators once the trend becomes mainstream. Despite the occasional frustration, they wouldn't trade their foresight for anything. It's what makes them unique and keeps life interesting. They love being the trendsetters, the ones who bring new ideas to the table. And when everyone else finally catches up, they get a secret satisfaction from knowing they were there first. After all, being ahead of the pack has its perks, even if it means spending a lot of time waiting for everyone else to catch up. Number 5. Having a harsh inner critic, the relentless inner critic, the double-edged sword. Inside every Sigma female is a harsh inner critic that never seems to take a break. It's like having an overzealous sports coach in her head, constantly shouting instructions and critiques. This inner voice is relentless, always pushing her to do better, be better, and never settle for anything less than perfection. While it can drive her to achieve incredible things, it's also exhausting. This critic isn't just about pushing for excellence, it's about dissecting every little misstep with surgical precision. Missed a minor detail in a project? That inner voice will remind her of it for days. Made a social faux pas? Expect that moment to be replayed in her mind like a never-ending loop. It's like having a personal film critic who never gives a good review. The humor in this comes from the absurdity of it all. Sigma females can joke about how their inner critic is like a bad roommate who never moves out. They might laugh about giving it a name or imagining it as a tiny drill sergeant perched on their shoulder, barking orders. They find ways to cope with this internal nagging by making light of it, even if it drives them a little crazy sometimes. But here's the kicker: despite how harsh this inner critic can be, Sigma females know it's also their secret weapon. It's what drives them to excel and achieve things others might not even attempt. That relentless push for improvement means they rarely settle for mediocrity. They aim high, and when they miss, they learn and aim even higher the next time. However, living with such an intense inner critic can be a double-edged sword. It's tough to ever feel truly satisfied or at peace. There's always something that could have been done better, something that wasn't quite perfect. This can lead to burnout or a constant sense of inadequacy, even when they're objectively successful. The inner critic doesn't care about accolades or accomplishments. It's always focused on what could be improved. Despite the challenges, Sigma females have a kind of resilience that keeps them going. They learn to balance the critic's voice with a dose of self-compassion and humor. They understand that while their inner critic is never going to be their biggest fan, it's also not the enemy. It's a tough love kind of relationship, one that pushes them to be their best, but also requires a healthy dose of self-awareness to manage. In the end, Sigma females wouldn't trade their inner critic for anything. It's part of what makes them who they are. They just learn to live with it, laugh at its absurdity, and keep pushing forward. Because even with that constant nagging voice in their heads, they know they're capable of amazing things. Bonus point: eccentric emotional landscape, the deep and the dark. Beyond the typical Sigma female phenomena, they often experience an eccentric emotional landscape that's as deep as it is unpredictable. Their emotions aren't just a mild drizzle. They're a full-on storm with thunder, lightning, and the occasional rainbow. When they feel joy, it's like a burst of sunlight that lights up their entire world. But when they hit a low, it's like they've plunged into the Mariana Trench of feelings. This emotional depth can make life incredibly rich, but also intensely exhausting. They feel everything profoundly, from the soaring highs of achievement and love to the crushing lows of disappointment and loss. It's as if their emotional volume is always set to maximum, and there's no way to turn it down. This can lead to some pretty wild emotional roller coasters, where one minute they're on top of the world, and the next they're contemplating the meaning of life. Humor becomes their lifeline. They joke about needing an emotional seatbelt for all the ups and downs. They might laugh about crying over a touching commercial, or getting unreasonably excited about the perfect cup of coffee. By finding humor in their intense reactions, they manage to keep themselves grounded and sane. This emotional richness also fuels their creativity. Sigma females often channel their intense feelings into art, writing, music, or other creative pursuits. Their experiences give them a deep well to draw from, resulting in work that resonates with authenticity and passion. They're the ones who can write a song that makes you cry, or paint a picture that stays with you long after you've seen it. However, living with such strong emotions isn't always easy. It can be hard to find people who truly understand or can keep up with their emotional intensity. They might feel like they're too much for some people, leading to a sense of isolation. It's not that they want to tone down their emotions, they just wish more people could ride the waves with them without getting seasick. Despite the challenges, Sigma females embrace their emotional depth. They know it's what makes them unique and gives their life its vibrant color. They learn to navigate their feelings with a mix of humor, self-awareness, and a lot of resilience. They accept that their emotional highs and lows are just part of the package and they wouldn't have it any other way. In the end, their eccentric emotional landscape is both a gift and a challenge. It's what drives them to live life fully and passionately, even if it means dealing with some turbulent weather along the way. They laugh at the chaos, cherish the beauty, and keep moving forward, knowing that their ability to feel so deeply is one of their greatest strengths. In the end, the life of a Sigma female is a tapestry woven with unique and intriguing threads. From navigating a reality that feels intensely personal to standing firm in convictions that defy the norm, every experience shapes a powerful, independent individual. The stares of curiosity, the relentless inner critic, the foresight of trends, and the deep, often tumultuous emotional landscape. All these elements come together to create a persona that is both enigmatic and inspiring. Embracing these strange phenomena not only defines their journey, but also highlights their strength and resilience. So here's to the Sigma females, the trailblazers, the visionaries, and the unapologetically unique souls who remind us all that true power comes from embracing who we are, in all our complexity and depth. Thanks, Queens, for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now, and God bless.